What's good, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. You know my name, and you know this game. So, you may remember last week, I did say the name of this week's episode, which of course is on the infamous serial killer, Belle Gunness. Now, the name of the series is called Mystery Unsolved. So, why are we talking about Belle Gunness? One of the world's first female serial killers? Well, it's not her victims that we're talking about. It's her fate that we are, of course, going to be talking about. What happened to Belle Gunness in her final days? That is going to be discussed. So it only says Belle Gunness up here, but let me give it a full title. Tonight's episode of Mystery Unsolved is The Mysterious Death of Belle Gunness. Now, I know not everybody is as educated on serial killers as I might be. That's not a knock, and that's not me tooting my own horn, because I don't want to be known for that. Also, I don't know that much about serial killers, but I do know that Belle Gunness was quite twisted in her day. She was one of the world's first female serial killers. My hair looks awful. I apologize. And without further ado, let me get into who Belle Gunness was and what it is that she did before we get to the big mystery of what happened to her. Belle Gunness was a North American serial killer who was active in Illinois and Indiana between 1884 and 1908. Gunness is thought to have killed at least 14 people, most of whom were men she enticed to visit her rural Indiana property through personal advertisements, while some sources speculate her involvement in as many as 40 murders, marking her as one of the most prolific female serial killers in history. Gunness seemingly died in a fire in 1908, although her actual fate is unconfirmed. So it's a simple fire, but, we can't let that rest. So we got to do the only thing that comes natural to us is we got to investigate. Unverified, she died at age 48. This picture of her in 1904 is what she looked like a real winner. Let me tell you. If you've never seen it, I don't know if it'll show up, but I wouldn't want it. I'm swiping right, or swiping left, whichever one is swiping right. Yeah. Okay. Now, do we want to go down the road of all her deaths? I don't. That's not why we're here. But we got to at least establish a little bit of a who is this woman, right? Belle Gunness was born Brynhild Paulsdottir Storseth in Selbu municipality in Sondre, Trondheim County, Norway. Jesus Christ, is that a mouthful? Her birth name is Brynhild Paulsdottir Storseth in Selbu municipality, Sondre, Trondheim County, Norway. So she's from Norway. Before I hurt myself any further. She was the youngest of 8 children. Wow. So, at least the parents weren't disappointed. I mean, I imagine they were, but it's like, yeah, you know what? You had 8 children. As far as we know, only one of them was a clear disappointment. She was confirmed at the Church of Norway in 1874. I don't know what that means. At age 14, Gunness began working for neighboring farms by milking and herding cattle to save enough money for her journey to New York City. Why did she want to go there? Is that important? When she was processed by immigration at Castle Garden, Gunness changed her first name to Belle, then traveled to Chicago to join her sister Nellie, who had immigrated several years earlier. In Chicago, while living with her sister and brother-in-law, Gunness worked as a domestic servant, then got a job at a butcher's shop cutting up animal carcasses. Hmm. She was at least 170 centimeters, 5 feet 7 inches tall, and weighed around 209 to 250 pounds, and was physically strong in appearance. She was a big woman. Big, hefty woman, apparently, in those days. 209 to 249 pounds. A woman in the 1800s. Like, that's a hot take. That's not even a hot take. She was a giant, okay? Like, she is a very large woman. Very burly woman in the 1800s. From between 209 and 249. That's like a running back right there. Like, wow. Gunness married Mads Ditlev Anton Sorensen. Why can't these people just have a normal first and last name? In 1884, the couple owned a candy store which later burned to the ground. Ah. Their home had also burned down. Ah. In both instances granted the couple insurance payouts. Wait a minute. If your business burned down, that's one thing. But then your house burns down? Hey, honey, we're low on money. Do you have any ideas of how we can get some more? Hmm, I know. We'll burn down our business and our home. And we'll collect the insurance money and we'll start fresh. That's a swell idea. Two babies in Gunness's home died from inflammation of the large intestine. Gunness had insured both of the children and collected a large insurance check after each death. Neighbors gossiped about the babies since Gunness never appeared to be pregnant. What the fuck? This just took such a vile turn. Oh, that caught me so off guard. Because it says two babies in Gunness's home died. Like, first of all, like, two babies in her home. Like, whose babies are they? That's why the neighbors are gossiping, because they never saw that she was pregnant. Although at between 209 and 249 pounds, how could you tell? Like, she was a big burly woman, so she could have been pregnant and they just didn't know. Oh my god. And then on top of that, had them both insured. Like, let's assume she was pregnant. Imagine going to the doctor and the doctor's like, wait, what do you want to know? Are they insured? Why do you want to know that? They just want to be sure. Okay. That's that's twisted and crazy at the same time. Sorensen had purchased two life insurance policies. I'm just going to keep reading. On July 30th, 1900, both policies were active at the same time, as one would expire that day and the other would enter into force. Sorensen died of cerebral hemorrhage that day. Gunness explained he had come home with a headache and she provided him with quinine powder for the pain. She later checked on him and he was dead. Gunness collected money from both the expiring life insurance policy and the one that went into effect that day, making a total of $5,000. With the insurance money, she moved to LaPorte, Indiana, and bought a pig farm. Okay, can we just address the elephant in the room? There's two issues I have with this. The first one being, I thought maybe the husband was in on it, but he was as blind as one could possibly be. Because, I mean, I assumed he was in on it because of the two babies, but she clearly found her calling of, like, collecting insurance money. Like, In fact, this is very similar to the H.H. Holmes thing. H.H. Holmes and a buddy said, we can fake, one of us can pretend to fake our deaths and collect the insurance money. And H.H. Holmes was like, oh, okay. Only he actually killed the guy and then collected the insurance money. So Belle Gunness did the same exact thing. She probably said to her husband, hey, let's take out 2 life insurance policies in case something happens to one of us. Okay. Poisons her husband. He dies. And not only did she collect the life insurance policy of the one that was going to expire, but she somehow was able to collect on the one that took effect after that one expired. And it was for only $5,000. I imagine that was a lot of money back then, but like, Jesus. And she buys a pig farm. Like, lady, what? How do you go from candy store to pig farm? How do you go from butcher of meat carcasses to collecting insurance policies on people close to you? Or the way that we have to assume are close to you? Belle married Pete Gunness on April 1st, 1902. The following week, while Peter was out of the house, his infant daughter died of unknown causes in Belle's care. Peter died 8 months later due to skull injury. Belle explained that Peter reached for something on a high shelf, and a meat grinder fell on him, smashing his skull. The district coroner conveyed a coroner's jury suspecting murder, but nothing came of the case. Belle collected $3,000 in insurance money for Peter's death. Okay, you remember what I said at the beginning about how this was about Belle Gunness' mysterious death? I lied. This is about some of the people she killed that were close to her, like her husbands. Because what in the actual fuck? The first husband says he has a headache and he ends up dead. The next guy has a skull injury because he fell on a meat grinder. Of all the things to fall on, you fall on a fucking meat grinder? Oh, that's how he died. It's so tragic. Gunness began placing marriage ads in Chicago newspapers in 1905. Okay, what in the actual fuck is a marriage ad? I'm honestly asking. I've never heard of that. Was that like the equivalent of like Tinder back in 1905? A marriage ad. Is it like the Pina Colada song? Like I took out a column in the personal ad? One of her ads was answered by a Wisconsin farmhand, Henry Gerhold. After traveling to LaPorte, Gerhold wrote his family, saying that he liked the farm, was in good health, and requesting that they send him seed potatoes. I'm confused. Hold on. A personal advertisement, sometimes called a contact ad, is a form of classified advertisement in which a person seeks to find another person for friendship, romance, marriage, or sexual activity. Oh, okay. So one of her ads was answered by. Okay, it says a marriage ad. So maybe she's not looking for marriage, she's looking for help? Because the guy wrote his family, saying that he liked the farm, was in good health, and requesting that they send him seed potatoes. Let's read the rest. When they failed to hear from him after that, the family contacted Gunness. She told them Gerhold had gone off with horse traders to Chicago. She kept his trunk and fur overcoat. John Moe of Minnesota answered Gunn's ad in 1906. After they had corresponded for several months, Moe traveled to LaPorte and withdrew a large amount of cash. Also, no one ever saw Moe again. Although no one ever saw Moe again, a carpenter who did occasional work for Gunness observed that Moe's trunk remained in her house, along with more than a dozen others. This woman found her calling. Her criminal activities came to light in April of 1908 when the Gunness farmhouse in LaPorte, Indiana burned to the ground. In the ruins, authorities found the bodies of a headless adult woman, initially identified as Belle Gunness, and her 3 children. Further investigation unearthed the partial remains of at least 11 additional people on the Gunness property. After the fire at the Gunness homestead led to the discovery of bodies believed to be Gunness's and her children, LaPorte police authorities were contacted by Astley Heldenrein, who had found correspondence between his brother Andrew Heldenrein and Gunness. The letters included petitions for him to relocate to LaPorte, to bring money, and to keep the move a secret. A visit by Heldenrein to Gunness's farm with a former hired hand led to attention being paid to soft depressions in what had been made into a pen for hogs. After briefly digging one of the depressions in the lot, a gunny sack was found that contained 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 head, which Heldenrein recognized to be one of those of his brother. Immediate inspection of the site revealed that there were dozens of such slump depressions in the Gunness yard, and further digging and investigation of the site yielded multiple burlap sacks containing torsos and hands, arms hacked from the shoulders down, masses of human bone wrapped in loose flesh that likely dripped like jelly, from trash-covered depressions that proved to be graves. Oh my freaking lord! Me at the beginning of this. Why did you want to buy a pig farm? This is why, Justin. This is why. In each case, the body had been butchered in the same manner, the body decapitated, the arms removed at the shoulders, and the legs severed at the knees. Blunt trauma and gashes characterized the skulls that were found that had been separated from the bodies. She knew what she was doing. Remember, she was a butcher. She was a butcher back in the day before that. After finding parts of the 5 bodies on the first day, an additional 6 on the second, some in the shallow graves under the original hog pen, others near an outside or a lake, the police stopped counting. 14 confirmed deaths. That's 11 right there. There is no fucking way she just murdered 14 people. She murdered a whole bunch of people. Probably 4 dozen, 5 dozen at least. With these discoveries, the perceptions of Belle Gunness, as reported in newspaper descriptions of a praiseworthy woman dying in the fire that consumed her house in a desperate attempt to save her children, were reassessed. Despite the initial success of the identification of Andrew Heldenrein, despite the fact that the widening news coverage of the mass murders invited inquiries from families with men that had gone missing, most of the remains could not be identified. Holy friggin' crap. There we go. Oh my god. Luckily, I'm not assessing her murders or who these people were because I couldn't tell you for the life of me. That's not why we're here. Oh, it's a video. Oh, I don't want that. Let's see if we can find out anything on her mysterious death. The fate of serial killer Belle Gunness remains a mystery, leading to 2 main theories about her mysterious death in 1908. This is according to AI, which I'm doing this for the first time ever. We're gonna ask AI because I want to know what they think, what it thinks, whatever the fuck you want to call it. She either died in a house fire that revealed her crimes and successfully faked her death to escape authorities. Initially, the headless adult body was identified as Gunness herself, A coroner's inquest concluded the remains were hers after a piece of dental bridgework was found in the ashes and identified by her dentist. Her hired hand, Ray Lamphere, was convicted of arson, while the prosecution's theory was being that he had killed Gunness and her children. However, this theory quickly fell apart under scrutiny. That was evidence that she died in a fire, but then it also has evidence that she escaped. How can it be both? It can't. This is why AI sucks. Almost immediately, evidence cast doubt on the official verdict, fueling the belief that Gunness had faked her death. Oh, that's how, because she faked dental work and all that. Several witnesses noted that the headless body was significantly shorter and lighter than the tall and heavy set Belle Gunness. Remember, she was a burly woman. So I strongly believe that. First theory number one, what are my thoughts on how she died? She probably faked her own death, because if the body was anything close to less than 209 and 245 pounds, running back-esque in today's day, it wasn't her. Later testimony from Lamphere's trial suggests that the dental bridge may have been a ruse. The jeweler testified that gold in the bridgework should have been shown more damage from the fire's heat, and a witness claimed to have seen the slice work find the bridgework. I don't know what that last part means. Lamphere, who later died in prison, reportedly confessed that Gunness had placed the headless body of a murdered woman she posed as herself in the fire. Ah, the last words of a dying man in prison, right? Shortly before the fire, Gunness paid off her mortgage and withdrew a substantial portion of her savings from the bank, strongly suggesting she was planning to disappear. A 2008 examination of the headless corpse for DNA testing could not definitively identify the remains due to their degraded state. Well, no shit, you waited like 100 years. DNA from a letter written by Gunness was too old to be used for comparison. No shit, because you waited 100 years. The evidence suggesting that Belle Gunness escaped is compelling, but without definitive proof, her fate remains one of the most compelling, unsolved mysteries in American crime history. After the fire, sightings of Gunness were reported for decades across the United States. In 1931, a woman with a criminal past named Esther Carlson was arrested in Los Angeles. While two people who knew Gunness claimed to recognize her, the identification was never proven, and Carlson died in jail. So, there are only two theories here. She died in the fire, or she faked her own death. Which one am I leaning towards? I definitely don't think she died in that fire. I think she faked her own death. I think she could have been Esther Carlson? I can't even pronounce that name. And that's an American name. Esther Carlson, Jesus Christ. She definitely faked her own death. But if she did, I would assume that she wouldn't stop killing, because serial killers just don't stop killing. Unless there's a legitimate reason. They're already locked up, or something's ailing them. I don't know. Or they're dead themselves. So yeah, I think she faked her own death. Maybe she assumed a new name like Esther Carlson or some other woman. But I definitely don't think she died in that fire. She probably deserved to die in that fire. She absolutely deserved to die in that fire. Holy shit. I think that something ironic should have happened to her. Like her just trying to... Maybe that's what happened. I'll go off on a whim here and say that while she faked her own death, something ironically happened that caused her death, because of all the time she just killed people off to collect the insurance money or the trunk that they came with. Like, however she died, she probably deserved every ounce of it. Every freaking ounce of how she died. That's crazy. Oh man. What do you think happened to Belle Gunness? Do you think she died in the fire? Like people supposedly somehow for whatever reason think? Or are you like me? Do you think she faked her own death? You won't, but do let me know with a comment below. And also, while you're down there, hit subscribe so you know when I go live like this anytime. And you don't have to watch in the playback. You can watch it live. Also, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can leave a bunch of comments in the stuff, bunch of comments in the thread and the status, and I will read it and comment back to you. Somebody did that once. That was actually pretty fun. Um, do stay tuned for next week's episode where I will be talking about, let us see, Owen Parfit. Who was he? What happened to him? We'll have to find out next week. For Mystery Unsolved, I'm Justin Bienvenu. Have a good night.